right now.
We were just dancing to the song, Chew On.
Look back at it.
And Cece had a really crisp shoulder pop.
Yeah, I was popping.
It's really funny.
Something I would never do outside of this studio or my home. I would never dance like that.
Really?
Never.
You know, we're on national television.
I was just going to say, you realize that if you're doing it here, a lot of people can
Nobody
see.
could see me, though. We weren't even back from break yet.
That's true.
Yeah, it was just the music. It wasn't actual video.
But there's a chance always
we
that
can
they
find
could
it.
pull the video.
Well, why would you want to do this? See, Pat, why do you always want to do that to me? You always do that to me.
I mean, I didn't make you dance. You danced by yourself.
Who played the music?
Javante did that.
Okay, well, Javante was complicit in me dancing the way that I was dancing.
Yeah, and now we'll be complicit in pulling the video.
Y'all always want to show me at my worst. I don't understand why y'all want to highlight me at my best. It's always me at my worst.
I've learned the mics are always hot and the cameras are always rolling.
Yeah.
So you got to be a little careful.
Bad guys in the studio. Bad guys. Bad guys.
All right.
Anyway,
I was going to give a lesson on how the NFL works.
Oh, go ahead. Class is in session. I'm ready to go.
Realize this. You find a quarterback in the draft, and he's good. He's automatically underpaid. You then have to pay the quarterback, and you can't pay everybody else, right? That's not specific to any team. That is specific to 32 teams. Are we in agreement? Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's the owner of the San Francisco 49ers making it specific to them about the possibility of paying Brock Purdy and why the 49ers have to let players go this offseason.
It's just a math thing, right? Like when you sit down with your guys and figure out where do you want to go, what do you want to build, and you make the decision that you want to pay a quarterback that has obviously been underpaid for his first 3 seasons in the NFL. When you make that change, you have to make sacrifices somewhere. It's a decision that we made collectively, and we're hoping that we make somebody the highest paid player in the history of our franchise, and that was a decision that we made, probably in the middle of the season.
He then was asked about whether or not Brock Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the league.
I think he is. I think he's great. And especially when you combine him with Kyle and you combine him with what we have, he's a heck of a quarterback, and you want him to be here for a long, long time.
So he's a conditional top 10 quarterback,
with
contingent
Kyle?
on the coach and the talent around him. Doesn't sound like somebody that you need to pay a top of the market contract to.
Let me ask you this question. Is Lamar Jackson a top 10 quarterback?
Yes, period.
Is Josh Allen a top 10 quarterback?
Yes, period.
Is Joe Burrow a top 10 quarterback?
Yes, period, no matter who the coaches are.
Is Jalen Hurts a top 10 quarterback?
Yes.
See, you could do that with a lot of guys who have gotten big deals, and you don't even have to second guess it, and you don't have to add any conditions to that statement.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair around Lamar. I think that John Harbaugh did a phenomenal job of leaning into who Lamar is and what he does on the football field that many coaches previously did not. I think that
he's a two-time MVP through his first 7 seasons in the NFL.
Yeah, that was initially, though,
who's been his number 1 wide receiver throughout that period?
Right. He's a top 10 quarterback. He's a top 2 quarterback. I'm not debating that. I'm saying the coach mattered in this case. Because
I'm not saying the coach didn't matter, but he was always going to be a top 10 quarterback.
But 31 teams passed on him.
Okay, well, I don't understand that. I don't understand why we're bringing up how he came into the league. We see the talent. It's undeniable.
I'm trying to give the Ravens credit for actually taking a quarterback in Lamar and really doing a tremendous job with him, because Lamar is awesome, and there's a lot of teams that weren't willing to do that.
For as much as I want to give the credit to the Ravens for developing him, I think the credit that they deserve is the fact that they were able to see ahead of the curve,
yes,
and know where the NFL is going relative to the quarterback position, and having to have a guy that can use his legs because of how teams are in terms of the athletes on the field, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You have to have a quarterback that can get out of trouble by using his legs, either by running the football or just being able to extend by time, getting outside of the pocket. So, I mean, the point notwithstanding, Lamar Jackson is a top 10 quarterback. Based on the talent, based on the individual accolades, it feels like he was always going to be that. I don't know if that's the case for Brock Purdy. And based on what Jed York says, it doesn't sound like he believes that Brock Purdy, independent of everything else around him, is one of the top quarterbacks in the National Football League. And that's why I have a little bit of pause about the kind of contract that it's going to take to resolve this offseason.
I think it's going to end up being 53 to 55. I think that's probably what it is. It's probably not going to be the highest paid in the league. It's probably going to be less than some of his peers, but still an enormous amount. Will his contract help or hurt the Niners, though, moving forward? Keeping him there, keeping him happy.
I don't know. I don't know because I don't know what the contract is. right? If the contract is in line with what other quarterbacks signed when they were up for their big deals over the past 3 years, it's anywhere in the range from 21% to 25% of the salary cap upon signing. That would put Brock Purdy's deal around $58 million a year. I don't think the San Francisco 49ers can contend at the level that they expect to, paying Brock Purdy that amount of money.
So then put the number 57.5 over under. Where does he come in at? Because I think it's under.
For the 49ers' sake, I hope it's under, but I don't know.
I think it might be under, too.
See, I know you like to always say to your peers that are also players, get every dollar you can, right? Because it's not a forever job. It's a for now job. And you rarely, if ever, CC, suggest someone takes less. In this case, should he take a tiny bit less? Tiny bit.
Why?
He took a team to a Super Bowl.
But hold on. You can't say take less when they got rid of all of these guys this offseason so they could pay me.
Right.
That's true, too.
So why am I taking less? You got rid of them because you said you had to pay me. You're planning to pay me. Why should I take less than what my peers did when their deals were up in years prior when I was the biggest bargain in the NFL?
So we always talk about representatives from teams making certain comments publicly, and we try to decipher why they would do that. Is Jed York saying this about Brock Purdy when he says, especially combined with the coach that we have and the talent around him, I believe he's a top 10 quarterback, is by saying that, giving us a little peek behind the curtain of this is why we want you to arrive at this number and be good with it, because we know that absent of some of those things, you might not be in this position, that in this organization, we have put you in this position to succeed with the talent around you and with the coach who's brought you along. So in order for us to keep you in that same scenario and for you to have that success, maybe make it a little bit more team friendly. Could that be the route that they're going?
That could be the route that they want to go, and publicly loving him up to get the player to understand that they value him is important. But ultimately, how you show a player his respect is how you pay him. And if you're asking Brock to take something less than what other quarterbacks have taken in the past relative to the salary cap, I don't know that that's going to fly, given that he's been the biggest bargain in football the first 3 years of his career.
I think if we're going to read into any of the comments made by Jed York, what I read into is Kyle Shanahan has job security.
Yeah.
Because if he's looking at the investment in Purdy as a combo package with Shanahan, and you're going to extend Purdy, call it 4 or 5 years.
But how long does that exist? Because we said that about Mike McDaniel and Tua, and now we're talking about Mike McDaniel potentially being on the hot seat.
But they've had no success in relation to these two guys.
But if you have this quarterback and this huge contract and you can't move on from him and you don't have success as a team, something's got to happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'd sign up for Kyle Shanahan to be my head coach, and I'd sign up for Brock Purdy to be my quarterback. At some point, it either is going to work or it's not going to work, right?
Yeah, the part about Brock Purdy taking a below market deal, I struggle to see it. And the reason why I struggle to see it is because if Brock Purdy was on the open market right now, there would be somebody that would want to pay him upwards of, $57, $58 million a year. Somebody would give it to him. Whether you think he's worth it or not, they would pay it. If the Pittsburgh Steelers could get Brock Purdy and all it took was money, if they didn't have to give up any draft picks, he would get it. So if you're Brock Purdy's agent, if you're Brock Purdy, why would you want to take something less than a market level deal, especially considering that you've been in 2 conference championship games and you've quarterbacked the team in the Super Bowl?
Oh, I don't want to take a penny less.
No, you make a very convincing argument. It's a very good argument. They already cleared out the space, and if he was on the open market, he'd be the highest paid player in the sport. So why are you taking less? It's a very fair argument.
Yeah.
I'm over it. Brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Next.
NBA Thursday.